Hello and welcome to the inaugural Paradise Broadcasting Report, the first video on this channel that isn't a documentary, more a contemporaneous report of some of the stuff that's going on in West Papua. And the reason we've got to do that is because we can't really wait years for events to transpire. We want to provide, I guess, an overview of what's going on quickly as it happens. Case in point, there's a bombing campaign that's been going on over the past few weeks in Intan Jaya, one of the most remote places in the highlands of West Papua, which is, again, already one of the most remote places on Earth. Indonesia has shut off the internet there, according to my sources, which is just a very common tactic that Indonesia deploys when they don't want the outside world knowing what they're doing. But we've managed to kind of skirt around this internet ban and secure an interview with a man called Apeni Kobagal. Now, Apeni is the deputy commander of the Intan Jaya Command, or CODAP as they're called, of the West Papua National Liberation Army. Penny is in one of the most remote places on Earth. He's currently trying to survive a secret bombing campaign, so the internet's kind of shoddy, but it's worth watching because I think this is one of the first interviews, or probably the first and only interviews that a Penny has ever given. And some strange details are emerging about this bombing that kind of set it apart from some of the other bombings that Indonesia has been doing, I don't know, every single year. But yeah, let's watch.
Nama saya Apen Koboko. Pola Pelapang dan saya terus mulai kita ini 2019 ini dong mulai bom di Kasturun di markas Ugimba baru mulai itu juga pakai dua heli baru Kasturun bom Asoka Oroget di tengah masyarakat Kasturun tidak korban begitu sampai sekarang mulai 25 ini dong Kasturun pemburu di bawah terus satu di atas baru di tengah masyarakat Kasturun kampung Janampa kampung Ekenempa satu di kampung saya Bulapa begitu.
Wow, and can you ask, were the bombs dropped from helicopter or plane?
Oke, apakah tentara mereka jatuhkan bom menggunakan helikopter atau pesawat?
Pemburu. Pesawat pemburu 2 di bawah, 3. Kalau Garuda Indonesia itu di atas. Baru jam 5 itu subuh. Tengah 6 itu Kasturun di tengah masyarakat begitu.
6 sore atau pagi?
6 sore. Hari Sabtu 6 sore.
Oke, itu tanggal berapa yang terakhir kemarin?
Yang kemarin hari Jumat. Kemarin ini kita perang ini. Kemarin foto saya sudah kirim sama Bapak itu.
So Penny is claiming that Indonesia is using fighter jets for their recent spate of bombings in Intan Jaya. Indonesia does have a history of using fighter jets that goes all the way back to the 70s when they bombed the Balian Valley using, I think, Broncos that were supplied by the United States. But in recent years, it seems that Indonesia has kind of opted for more helicopters and drones. So using fighter jets seems to be kind of a big escalation in the violence there. This also accords with some other stuff that he's saying, where they're saying it's kind of the biggest kind of bombs that they've seen for a while. There's a great report from Human Rights Monitor on these recent bombings, and they're claiming that the CASA C-212 aeroplanes are being used to bombard civilian infrastructure. The even stranger thing that Apeni just said in that clip was that there was a plane that looked like a Garuda plane. Now, Garuda is Indonesia's national carrier, their flag carrier, like Qantas. So that'd be like if Qantas was assisting the ADF. So I don't think it is Garuda, but it could be a plane that looks like a Garuda plane. But Indonesia also does have a history of using civilian aircraft in particular to conduct military activity. We saw that in Kiwi Rock. You can watch my documentary on it there. We also saw that in Mapenduma in 1996, where they used a Red Cross helicopter to Trojan horse special forces into a village where they then killed a bunch of people. So if they are using a plane that looks like a civilian plane to do these bombings, it does accord with the history. But still, using planes and it's quite a step up.
Oke, Kristo tanya lagi, apakah mereka tembak itu macam bom turun atau seperti roket? Kalau roket berarti itu ya itu sudah dari jet itu.
Bom, orgetain, Bapak. Orgetain, asuka lain. Begitu, tapi bom saja.
Ya, bagaimana kamu lihat bom jatuh itu dia hancurkannya bagaimana? Hancur lebur begitu, terlalu besar atau kecil?
Terlalu besar, jadi masuk itu tanahnya lembek jadi. Masuk di tanah itu sudah kayak longsor, tidak bisa angkat begitu. Itu kasturu bom itu pohon juga habis, gunung-gunung juga habis, begitu Bapak.
We've got these pictures. I've shown these pictures, I'll put them up now, to munitions experts, and they're still a bit confounded by what munitions Indonesia is using. But I don't know, it is kind of strange. I guess it's hard to tell, but that's why I'm reporting it. If anyone has any ideas of what's going on, feel free to email. But this is quite strange.
Pertanyaan berikut, Kristo bilang, apakah Indonesia masih melakukan pemboman sekarang atau hanya itu minggu lalu saja, begitu?
Barusan sekarang saya kemarin. Itu saja.
But one of the other reasons that I was particularly interested in interviewing a penny was because his command of the West Papua National Liberation Army are responsible for this amazing photo. It's almost it's surreal as hell, this photo. You can't almost can't even tell what's going on. It looks a little AI generated, but if you look in the middle, that's a military drone that they've shot down. So I thought I'd just ask him about this picture because I think it's actually one of the most interesting pictures ever taken, right? And it really kind of, it's quite symbolic of this conflict.
Jadi kamera drone ini kamera drone ini bawa senjata atau bawa kamera saja?
Itu kamera saja Bapak. Kamera baru kayak Eli. Bom masuk itu, kamera baru bom masuk itu dari gantung baru kas turun di tempat masyarakat, di tempat opera baru kasih pita dan kamera itu juga kita tembak, bukan senjata.
Okay.
According to a penny, this was a surveillance drone. So it didn't have a weapon attached to it. It flew around and took pictures of a target, and then a helicopter came after it, and they thankfully shot this one down so they could have a look at it. But not all drones are that, I guess, innocent, if you want to call it that. You can take a look at this video that was found recently. It's up on Human Rights Monitor's website, of a drone in Intan Jaya being sent by the Indonesians trying to drop grenades on apparently TPN, West Papua National Liberation Army targets. So I thought we'd end the interview with a penny's appeal to the outside world. It's an appeal that I've heard in some form or another from many different West Papua National Liberation Army leaders. And it goes something along the lines of, they've got bows and arrows. They do have guns, but primarily they've got bows and arrows and knives. And Indonesia is using bombs. So yeah, I'll play it, but it's pretty tragic. We don't know when we'll hear from him next because he's getting around Indonesia's internet shutdown. So I don't know, I'll try and keep you guys updated, but I don't know. Here's what he has to say.
Lanjut. Lawan dengan negara juga tidak bisa turun pesawat kabupaten tidak bisa turun bom pemburu, itu tidak bisa. Lawan dengan ini saya kasih turun bom ini, Bapak juga harus cari tahu di negara begitu, Bapak. Biasa kasih turun bom di negara lain kan tidak begitu. Lawan dengan negara apa? Lawan dengan ini saya kasih turun bom pemburu. Panas kan betul.
And look, it's not just combatants, if you really want to call them that are affected by this, despite the fact that the line between combatants and civilians is very, very blurred in a kind of post-tribal environment, which is West Papua. civilians are all being displaced. Apparently there's been 7,000 civilians from 10 villages, according to Human Rights Monitor, that have fled because of the recent militarization in Intan Jaya. And this is not just happening in Intan Jaya, it's been happening in the Star Mountains, where our previous documentary was set, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's happening in Dugama, it's happening in Yahukumo, it's happening everywhere. I guess the only thing we can do is kind of report on it. You can donate and try and get, because we're trying to get some aid into the Star Mountains, but Intan Jaya is too remote for us to get aid into. I mean, you could write to your local MPs about it, I don't know, but I don't know, I just hope maybe someone in the Australian government who watches this, I know I've got a few people that watch it, the government, I don't know, make some inquiries, find out, this is a bombing campaign using planes that is going on, a few kilometers from Darwin. It's pretty strange, Yeah, we'll have another report and some more interviews with some West Papuan National Liberation Army commanders soon. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated.